Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's Ben Falcons Media Corner back again with a brand new video for today. And before I get into this video, I'd like to say to everyone, happy Halloween to everyone. I hope you have a great fun Halloween this year by doing whatever you do around this time of year. Like, if you just stay in your home watching scary movies with your family and friends, or trick-or-treating with your family and friends, or just having a Halloween party of your own with your family and friends. I just like to say that first thing before getting into this video. But anyway, welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw review video for today. And for this new aka After I Saw review video for today, this is going to be my review on a brand new release film for 2022, which this movie just recently dropped by in the UK just a few days ago. And while this movie came out just last month in the US, and I did see this movie today. I just saw this tonight for Halloween night, and I saw this movie drop for free, and I just got back from seeing it, and I'm here to give you guys my personal thoughts on what I just saw tonight for Halloween. Which this is gonna be my review on the 2022 horror film, and that movie is Barbarian. Now, this was written and directed by Cregger, and this is his very first film as director. And the story of this movie is that we follow this young woman named Tess, played by Georgina Campbell, who she books herself in this rental home in Detroit, where she can spend the night, where she has this job interview that's held in Detroit. And once she goes to a rental home that she's booked herself in, she finds out it's being occupied by this stranger named Keith, played by Bill Skarsgård. And against her better judgment, we see Tess basically spends the night in this rental home that she booked herself in with the stranger who he's occupied himself in. And she soon starts to settle in until there's something very, very more serious and kind of scary than having an unexpected guest in your home. So we see Tess trying to figure out what's going on in this home that she's basically booked herself in with this stranger she never met. So that's pretty much the story of Barbarian. Now, I didn't know anything about this movie going into it. Like, I didn't see the trailers first thing when they first dropped by. I just saw a few posters for this film, and once after I saw the posters for this film, I started seeing some reviews for this film on the internet as well as on YouTube. And once after I saw some reviews about this movie, I was just like, I have to see this movie. But I didn't even know when this was going to come out in my area in the UK, because all I know this movie was just released just last month in the US. Well, after all that, I did get a notification on my phone, like, finding out when this was going to come out in my area, and I found that was going to come out around October. So that made me happy, because I was hoping I wouldn't have to wait for another year or anything. So that made me happy, because I was ready. I was just genuinely looking forward to this one after what I've read on the internet about this movie, what people were saying about this movie and all that. And after all that, I started doing a bit of research, like who was behind this movie, like the director and the cast. For the cast of this film, you've got some talented names. You've got Georgina Campbell, which I've never seen her in the movie before, but I was kind of intrigued to see what she can do for this kind of horror film. Since this is a horror film, and of course I love horror films. But you've got but you also had two recognizable names behind who are in this movie. You've got Bill Skarsgård, who you may know his iconic performance in the It movies as Pennywise the Dancing Clown, which of course he's the best thing, and he's the best part of those movies. And his performance in those movies is just fantastic and just absolutely terrifying as Pennywise the Clown. And you also have Justin Long, which he has done horror before, like he's done Jeepers Creepers and Drag Me to Hell, which I enjoyed both of those movies. So once I found out he's coming back to do another horror film, I was just generally really intrigued to see what he can do for a new horror film, because he's made different types of horror films before in the past. And for the director of this film, like I said, this is his very first film as director, Cregger. I was pretty intrigued to see what he can do for what he was going to do for a horror film, what he was going to do for the horror genre, since I love horror films in general. And I actually did see the trailer, and I did manage to see the trailers for this film before I went out to see this film. And once after I saw the trailers for this film, I was just getting more excited for this film. And I did see this movie today for Halloween night, and I saw this movie drop for free, and I got myself a free ticket, which I still do have right here. And I'd like to say to my viewers, cinema, thank you so much for getting me my free ticket for this movie, because I was just ready for this movie. And after walking out of this movie, I gotta say here, you guys, I can definitely say that Barbarian is definitely another one of my favorite horror films this year, because this movie was just awesome. For the acting performances in this movie, I thought Georgina Campbell and Bill Skarsgård were both terrific together in this movie, and I liked how they interact with each other. Once after we had to see these two characters meet up in the film in a very strange way, because again, for these two characters they've never met before whatsoever. And once after we get to see Tess starts to settle in the home with a stranger, they start to interact with each other, and their characters start to change in the film until something very serious and very scary is going on in the film. And for seeing it on the big screen, I thought both of these actors really kicked it out of the park. And again, their acting was just terrific. And Justin Long's also in this movie, like I said. And for his acting in the film, I thought he was great in the film. And he's also really funny too, because his character is this sitcom actor of like, and there's something bad that's going on with his life. And for what he's saying in the film, I thought was just genuinely funny, because again, his humor is just really, really funny for what he's saying and what he's doing. And for having all that in this film, it never really ruined this movie whatsoever. Because again, this film was just generally really exciting, and it was just really entertaining and just really awesome here. And the direction by Zach Cregger, his directorial debut, I thought was incredible for what he's done throughout this whole film. Like the technique shots he used in this film, I thought was well done. Like the perspective shots, like of whatever character we follow in the film, which I thought was very well done. And scenes where it builds up the tension and all that, I thought was just very well done as well. And the jump scares, I thought were very well handled. Although there's a few cheap jump scares in the film, which they didn't ruin the film for me whatsoever. Because I thought the jump scares were very well handled, and they did get me under my skin. Next to the moments that really are tense and just beyond creepy as hell. Like for something creepy that just pops out on screen, that just really, really got me. And it just really made me jump out of my chair. And also, like, the violence in the film, it is pretty bloody. Although I wouldn't say it's insanely bloody, because this film is not a flat-out slasher film. Well, actually, in general, really, I don't know what kind of horror film I would put this movie as, because it's not really, I wouldn't say it's a slasher film, and I don't think this is a haunted house kind of film, really. But for what kind of horror film this is, I thought what the director did for this, for what the director did for this film, I thought he just really kicked out of the park here, you guys, in his directorial debut. And I can definitely see him in the future making other great horror films, because, you know, for what he did for this film, again, he just completely kicked out of the park. And his storytelling for this film, I thought, was very smart, and it does have its own originality to it. It never took any essence from like any of the horror films, because I really like what kind of horror film this was going for. And all three acts of this film, I thought were very well made. Like, were played out so well, and it's for its pacing, because it's paced so smoothly, because this film is only like 100 something minutes though. But the only issue I only have with this film is that for the beginning of the third act, it cuts to the past, and it never explained that much, which I kind of found confusing. And then it just cuts to present day of like what just happened. I just kind of found that confusing. That's just the only issue I have with this film. But in the end, guys, Barbarian, this is definitely another awesome horror film this year. And I can definitely say this is definitely another one of my favorite horror films this year. And definitely another one of my favorite films this year. And this year, for horror films in general, really, I could definitely say that horror films for this year have been so damn good. You know, we've had some really great surprises. And a few of the ones we knew that were just going to be just, you know, great hits. And if this is playing a local cinema near you, definitely get a ticket for this one, and also get yourself a bucket of popcorn for this one, because this one was just a fun and exciting, awesome horror film here. So that's pretty much all I have to say about Barbarian. I'm gonna give Barbarian 4.5 out of 5. Yep, absolutely deserves this rating for being yet another awesome horror film this year. Again, just despite having one little negativity with this one, I still managed to have a huge blast with this one. So, yeah. Again, thank you guys so much for watching my AKF for a sore review on Barbarian. And let me know what you think of this brand new release, if you've already seen this film, if you've just recently checked out this film. Did you have a blast with this, or is this not really a popcorn treat? As always, thank you guys so much for watching. And this has been Foggy's Media Corner signing off. And also, happy Halloween.